Hey, what up, fam? It's Joe Mill here, back with Killer Miller Q, and today we're gonna be looking back at the old Christmas cook. This is a holiday edition. Let me show you how we're gonna level up this prime rib. Alright, fresh out of the package. Man, I tell you, while I've definitely seen more marbling in throughout this part with some of those choice or prime, overall, I can't be mad. There's definitely some marbling in this thing. It doesn't look that bad for a select prime rib, or this one is actually more or less a rib roast. They haven't Frenched the bones, but one thing you can tell, you see they already got butcher's twine on here. Basically what they've done was help us out by removing these bones and then basically retying them back on. What I'm actually about to do is to remove the twine, and we actually going to be seasoning all around this baby and those bones individually, and then I'll put the twine back on later on once we get fully assembled. And I also want to bring down a little bit of this fat layer so I can get a little more contact with my meat. So I'm about to get rid of this twine. We'll take off some of this fat and maybe cut off just a little bit off of this on the back, and I'll show you what it looks like. All cleaned up. I actually ended up taking off more or seeing more fat than you expected, more or less. Had this nice thick hunk of fat on there. Pretty much with this boning knife, I was able to keep it pretty skinny. So as you see, nothing on here major. Some people like all of that extra fat. I want to build me a nice crust. So as you can see, we got that pretty cleaned off, and we'll be able to get that rub all the way around. Like I was saying, we took that butcher twine off, so now you got the separation in between these bones here and the meat. So I'll be able to get all the way around and get these bones nice and seasoned up. We're gonna get rid of this excess fat on the bone, on the board, and I'm gonna show you what we're gonna be seasoning up with. Alright, so I went and grabbed what we're gonna be using today for our dry brine. Instead of last time we did more or less just the regular salt brine. Today I'm gonna be putting a little bit more flavor on here. We're gonna be using Cosmo's Texas beef rub. This rub's got a little sugar in there, but I do like it. It's got a good amount of salt. It should hit us with a couple other notes. We're gonna be seasoning this baby all the way around, including the bone side underneath on both sides. And then this is gonna be going directly right over here onto this rack, where I'm gonna be letting it sit in the fridge overnight uncovered. Tomorrow we'll finish off with the rest of our rubs. We'll put some more butcher twine on here to reattach these bones, and we'll be ready to go. But first things first, let's get some of this Texas beef on there. And then this is why we went ahead and opened it up from that butcher twine. As you can see, basically they cut all of these back where it left a little bit attached, but you're able to get in here. I can get seasoning on both sides of this roast that's going to be over here. Later on we'll be able to turn around and get some great beef ribs out of here. But just check out the marbling you can get on this select. Every once in a while you got to be careful and take a look at what you can get, but I think this one's going to be a good one. All seasoned up, and I must say, this Texas beef rub smells amazing on this. And I've had this before. I've tried it before on beef by itself, and I felt like it was lacking a little bit in salt and some of the other stuff, some of the pepper and things that I wanted. It's a thinner rub, so it's like more like iodized salt. So as you can see, it's already kind of really absorbing its way into this meat, but it does got some good flavor notes on there. Does got some pepper. I can smell all that garlic and all that good stuff on there, so we'll get the benefit of a little bit of that on there along with that salt. We'll still get some of that salt brining effect. I decided to also make sure that I save that fat. I'm gonna go ahead and melt that down and use that tallow. We'll be rebasting this baby and hydrating it along the way with some of that, and it'll give me a little bit of extra juice later on to do some au jus or gravy. But this is going in the fridge. We'll see you in the morning, and we'll keep it going. Top of the morning to you. We're rolling right along. This thing has got a chance to dry salt brine overnight, sitting right here on this rack with some of this Cosmos Q Texas beef rub. This rub's got a little bit of salt in there, some sugar, mixed with some other peppers and seasonings in there as well. Overall, it's a pretty good rub. Not the one that would finish me off, but definitely should give me some good flavoring in here. And again, for a select roast, this baby is looking good. So here's our plan. What we're gonna be doing next is I'm gonna be opening this baby up. I already got my Lone Star fired up. We'll be opening this thing up. I get avocado oil all over it, including on the inside, under the bones. I'm be coming over it because I want to get a good bark on there with a nice layer of this coarse ground black pepper. And then from there, I want to finish it off with a little bit of this Bearded Butcher's black seasoning here. This is a dark rub, kind of like a coffee rub. Should give it a great looking overall crust, but should get some nice hints and notes in there to kind of mix in with that Texas beef. Overall, I feel good about it. So let's get this thing lathered up, opened up, and then I'm gonna get it all seasoned up, and I'll let you see what it looks like before we get it onto the pit. There she is, all cleaned up. Once again, we opened it up, started at the inside, added a little bit of avocado oil all over, hit it with some kosher black pepper on the outside, then came over the top with a nice layer of that Bearded Butcher's black, and we had already hit it with that dry salt brine of the Cosmos Texas beef. Really like the way that meat sits up after it's been dry salt brined. It's got that good color in there. No moisture was down there in the bottom of that pan when we first got started coming out the refrigerator. Everything kind of sucks back in there and you get moisture and flavor all the way down to the bone as far as your salt. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this one's gonna come out. As you can see, we got it nice and lathered up. The only thing we got left to do is I'm gonna let this kind of come up the temp a little bit while my Lone Star is kind of dialing in, and I'm about to hit this thing back up with a couple pieces of butcher twine to keep it nice and tight, and I'll see you on the pit. And here we go. As you can see, we got the butcher twine back on there. This baby has been sitting out. You can see it's starting to juice a little bit. It is ready to go on this pit. The grill is up to temp. I got me some water. I'm gonna show you my little bit of a setup that we're gonna have here, and we're gonna move over to the Lone Star. And there it is. Believe it or not, this Lone Star, as big as it is, if I was going on this top rack, which I would have wanted to do to put this water pan directly under it, it would have been touching the top. So took out my top rack, added the water pan to the bottom. They got about 2 cups of water in there, so really just enough to kind of coat that bottom. There's that fat that I cut off. I'm gonna let that kind of get closer to the fire so it can get done. Give me a little bit of tallow for the basting, but nothing to do for a little bit. I'll bring you back. I'm gonna be holding this thing steady at roughly about 275. Hey team, I want to jump in here real quick and let you know thanks for following along on today's cook. If you are new to the channel, go to the bottom right corner, make sure that you subscribe, check out all the other videos you've missed, and find me on any social site if you haven't already. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, as well as TikTok under Killer Miller QUE. Right at about an hour, let's jump in here. I'm changing things over, getting some fresh heat off in there. We're looking good. All I'm gonna do is get us a rotation, and on 180 I'll give it a check just to see where we at. Tallow's looking good, so I'll get some of that up off of here in a second, but I give it a temp check and give it a flip. And this is the other side after that rotation. As you can see, 63.5, nowhere close, and that's good. So we got plenty of more smoke to get. I'll holler back at you in about an hour. Rolling along, 2 hours, 13 minutes, baby. Look at the beautiful looking color we got going on right here. I don't even know if I'm gonna need to actually get that reverse sear on there. I'm liking the way things is looking as is. Let me get a quick temperature shot. All right, we getting there now. 111. It's all about where you want yours. That's dead center. So keep in mind your outside is going to be a little bit more done. A lot of people will shoot for more or less about medium rare-ish, which isn't quite my deal, but that's kind of what we're going to be playing off of. So a lot of people will be pulling at 125-ish, 130-ish at the latest. We're going to be getting up out of there a little after. Beautiful Christmas day, man. I can't be glad at anything as far as weather around here. Getting some wood in. I'm just about at 3 hours. I'm making the executive decision. I will not be doing a sear on this baby. I'm liking the way everything looks. Get my finger out of there. Let me just get all basted up and let me just get everything together. I'm getting close to where I want to be. for most people, they'll probably be pulling it about now at 133, 130-ish. It's a had yet a nice, I don't know, medium rare-ish, closer to medium more or less once everything gets said and done. I'm going for a little higher than that. Obviously, cook to your preference. All I want to do is I do want to take a little bit of this tallow, and I'm going to just kind of wet this thing back up, rehydrate it just a tad with its own liquid. Nothing too crazy. I'm going to go ahead and get this nice and hydrated. We'll give this probably another 10, 15 more minutes until I can get to around my doneness. We're going to take this off and let it rest for a little bit before we give you a taste and get everything set up for the family. 3 hours and 24 minutes. This Lone Star's been going strong and steady. Like I told you earlier, I made the executive decision that I did not want to sear this thing. I wanted to get more smoke in on it. I've taken this a little bit more than maybe the average person. This is going to be close to about 140 degrees in the middle, which is about what I like. We're about to get this baby off of here. I'm going to be pulling it off, sitting it in this pan, and it'll be in my oven just hanging out for about the next 15, 20 minutes. We'll slice into it. We'll see what we got. Alright, we got this baby rested. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this butcher twine, we'll remove these bones, and then I'll get down to the regular roast. Now these bones here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these to the side. Later on, I'm going to add a little bit of tallow, throw them back into a little bit of aluminum foil. They're going back on the smoker, and we want to let these get all the way down to they're about 200 degrees tender. And those are going to be a nice little treat. But we got the butcher twine off. You know, your outer edges is going to be a little bit more done, but let's get a little bit of this prime rib. Ooh, look at that smoke ring, and that is beautiful. Obviously more done than it is for most people. Like I said, the outside is where you're going to get your more done pieces, and as you get more to the center, you should be closer towards your medium rare, medium, whatever you like. For me, this is what I was looking for. And now, what we're going to do is I want to get a taste of this nice and fatty piece off the back end here with all that nice bark. Oh yeah. I swear, cooking and smoking prime rib never gets old. You know what's interesting? You always call it prime rib even when it ain't prime. Half of the time I got a choice rib roast, and this time we got a select rib roast, which I usually never see. At this point, I feel like I never see select meat in my grocery stores or wherever I go and pretty much buy my meat. The place I went to, this grocery store always has good meat. I was interested because first off, they had it if you bought so much of groceries, they was knocking that all the way down to I believe it was $4.58 a pound. So to pay inside of $5 for that rib roast, I was all over it. Looking around and kind of getting a peek at all of them, there was some decent marbling in that for that to be select. You know, everything ain't always created equal. Just like I done seen some choices almost look like a prime, and I done seen some choices look like it probably could have been a select. That was a pretty good select roast. At the end of the day, as far as taste and flavor, everything was a top notch. I feel like it could have had a hint more salt, which I'm not too mad at. Every time, or a lot of times I had to learn with cooking, you don't need to necessarily have everything salted to your flavor. Keep in mind when you also feeding the crowd, other people might not like as much salt. They might like it just as is. As long as you got your flavors and your temperatures and everything right, adding a little bit of salt on the table, a lot of times just like a steak with that finishing salt, it's just kind of the way you want to do it. I started off, if we kind of rewind and look at that cook, we end up cooking roughly almost 3.5 hours at about 275 over there on the old Lone Star. I didn't do a sear. I thought about doing a reverse sear, but the crust that I was getting on there automatically just from getting that nice slow smoke looked so good, and also finishing it off with that Bearded Butcher's coffee rub had that nice dark look that I needed. I didn't even really want to take it over there to the fire. It was already where I wanted to be, and I'd rather get the more smoke in versus having to pull it out at a little bit lower temperature just to be able to try to get that finishing crust in there just to get that char. I like the Texas beef Cosmos Q that we started with, when we did the dry marinade with. It's always got a good flavor. However, like I said in the beginning, it's not a very salty rub. It's got a little pinch of sweet in there too. And then coming over the top with that Bearded Butcher's coffee rub seasoning. Really like that seasoning, but that's also one that doesn't have a lot of salt in it at all. It's a deep, rich, strong flavor, but not a very salty rub. So if any drawbacks at all, I would say maybe I could have put a pinch more salt on there or something like that. But I really like the product that I came out with. This was the first time that I made sure that I went ahead and took the butcher twine off in the beginning, opened that baby up, seasoned the thing all the way around, even when I was doing the dry rub, and then put it back together when I actually went and cooked it and re-butcher twined it. I like that because I did have a nice crust of taste all around the meat, and overall, man, you can't go wrong. But like I said, when you're making prime, select, or choice rib, whatever you want to call it, that's going to be a winner. The number one thing I love doing with that now is shaving that thing down. I'll be out here on the Blackstone tomorrow. We're making us a nice sandwich and kind of moving on from there. But other than that, another cook out the books. Hopefully y'all had a good Merry Christmas. New Year's right around the corner. Show you a little bit more of what we did here in just a bit. But shouts out to the family. All my peoples over there at Black Smoke Barbecue, you out there at TV land, anybody else I missed, I don't know how I did, but make sure you here for the next one and I'll make sure I catch you then. Peace.